Skydorn Network is proud to present Max Hawthorne's Monsters and Marine Mysteries. Known as the Prince of Paleofiction, Max is an American author, screenwriter, and avocational paleontologist, best known for his award-winning Chronos Rising series of sci-fi thrillers. In addition to being a world record-holding angler, he is the author of the Amazon #1 cryptid research book, Monsters and Marine Mysteries. Join Max now as he continues his investigation into the unknown. Are monsters real? Let's find out.
Hey everybody, I am Max Hawthorne, the host of Max Hawthorne's Monsters and Marine Mysteries. It's the only reason they gave me the job because, I have the same name, but anyway. Got a special guest for you today. We'll be bringing up in a few minutes a woman with 50 years of experience hunting and researching the legendary Sasquatch. Before we get started, however, be sure to check out the following new shows coming to Skydor Entertainment. They include Miscellaneous Mind with Katie Stafford, Sacred Mountain Retreat Center with Jared and Colin, Love Over Coffee, Voices Not Heard with Tina Durbin, and last but not least, The Soul Connection with Melissa Culbertson. Viewers can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Also, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on the notifications bell so you don't miss out on upcoming episodes. Last but not least, as most of you know, I am the author of the Chronos Rising series of sci-fi thrillers, as well as the Amazon bestseller Monsters and Marine Mysteries. I don't know if Dave can bring that up or not, the cover. I forgot to ask. But today, as a raffle prize for one of our lucky viewers, I will be raffling off a Kindle copy of Monsters and Marine Mysteries. Entry is simple. All you have to do is submit a question or comment. If you're shy, no problem. Just post a hashtag under comments, hashtag monsters are real in the chat, and you are in the running. Please note prizes are only awarded to those residing in the U.S. or its territories. Max, yours truly, hates long post office lines and customs forms. Thank you very much. And with that, let me tell you about tonight's special guest. Mary Fabian is a wife, mother, grandmother, and also the author of What I've Learned About Bigfoot, 50 Years and Counting. Can we bring up? Thank you. She's had various articles about Bigfoot that have appeared in the Yowie Times and is the founder and CEO of the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Project organization. Their motto is respect, help, share knowledge, learn more, and have fun. She formed the PVP to learn more about these magnificent creatures, to share research findings with other organizations in order to further knowledge, and to help other witnesses to learn. She has had Bigfoot encounters since the late 1960s and continues to actively research throughout multiple states in eastern and western USA, as well as 2 provinces in Canada. Mary, welcome to Monsters and Marine Mysteries, and thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm tired after all that. What a spiel.
I'll have to shorten it.
Oh, no, it wasn't your stuff. It was, there's just so much in there. Hello, Brandon. Hello, Carol and Deanna. So let's get started. So I know you've had 5 encounters with Sasquatch over the last 5 decades. So why don't we start off with your very first one and tell us about it, how old you were, where it happened, the whole thing. Just talk us through it.
All right. I've had more than 5 encounters. I've seen 5 Bigfoot. One of them I've seen 3 times. And as for encounters, which include having rocks, tree branches, getting bluff charged by them, having one crawl up underneath my pickup truck, having my pickup truck rocked by them, numerous. I wouldn't be able to count how many times I've been around them.
Mea culpa, I was sadly misinformed.
That's okay. Yeah, my first sighting was in 1967. I was 11 years old, and We lived in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, which is in western Pennsylvania, about 20 miles south of Pittsburgh. And we lived on a big farm. And there at the back of the farm, there was a gas line. And a lot of times I would go out and just hike along the gas line off the property and just go exploring or go visit with a friend, use it as a shortcut.
So you
And
were 11 and you were
yeah,
wandering through the woods following this gas line.
yeah,
Okay. All right. Just making sure. I want to set the stage for people. Should I bring up
yeah,
the photo of like the area or something similar to the area right now?
yes,
Or okay.
yeah.
Let
Hmm.
me see if we do that. So that would be. Can we cue number 2, please?
Yes. That's a representation of what it looked like. 50 years later, 50 some years later, uh, what's on the actual property is all McMansions, and it's completely changed from what it was back then. This is a photo of what it looked like back then. Only this is a power line cut. um, but no, it was a gas line, and I was just hiking along it, and you can see how it dips down into a holler and
Hmm.
then goes up a hill and then dips back down into a holler.
Hmm.
And I was walking down into the holler, and directly across from me was the upside, the hill going up. And on my right hand side was woods, and on my left was a field filled with brush and so on. And there was to my right, there was a game trail, and this Bigfoot, this huge creature, came walking out of the woods onto the gas line trail, and he stopped and looked at me, and then just for a few seconds, and then he walked on into the field across, and just disappeared from there into the brush.
So like how big was this creature?
Well, to an 11-year-old kid, anything was big.
The
um,
size of a house.
yes, the size of a house. All I can say was, yeah, he was huge. He was,
So compared to your dad, let's say, or one of your
oh God,
parents.
yeah, 3 times at least. My dad was 5'6", and no, that this thing was in
Was it a male?
height. Yeah, it was a male, and coal black, but he had what you would describe as being Neanderthal features. What we would commonly know, like from the movies.
Like a projecting
The
brow
Yes,
ridge, that type of stuff.
yeah, and the bulbous nose, and he just looked like a Neanderthal,
Was
and
the skin on the face, was it visible? Like, was there hair
yes,
covering? And
it wasn't completely hair covered. No, there was bare, like from forehead down to the cheekbones, and
and was
from
the
there was hair. Uh,
skin also black or different color?
no,
Or
no, it was light color.
like a gray or something? Or
No, it was, from what I recall, no, I think it was more um, similar to Caucasian, maybe slightly darker.
okay.
It,
How
he
like
wasn't.
close were you to this thing when he came out there?
I would estimate, going by old memory,
Right, I
um,
know it's a long time ago.
probably around 30 yards across from me over the valley to him. 30, 35, not any further than 40 yards.
Did you smell them? I mean, was there a
No,
scent to it? No.
no,
Wa- And so, were you scared?
not really. I was startled more than anything. I'm just hiking along this trail. I had never seen
Mhm.
anything other than deer, along this trail. And, and here he comes walking out. The thing is, at that time, I had no idea what it was. I just thought, okay, here's this big man wearing a black fur coat in the middle
Mhm.
of summertime, because it was summertime. And I thought, why is he wearing a fur coat? This was
Deanna
before
Deem
the
is
Patterson Gimlin film.
Deanna Deem is asking what indicated it was a male.
Um, right now, my assumptions, I was a kid. I didn't look at
So
something.
it didn't have breasts, so basically.
No, no,
Was
there
it
were no breasts.
was it muscular?
Yes, it was built like a sumo wrestler, very huge and bulky, um, very muscular.
It sounds a
Uh,
lot like Ray Gardner's one from the last show, in
okay,
terms of like the black, the
yeah,
fur that, and he said his had like a barrel to it. It wasn't like a bodybuilder where, I mean, it was massively
right,
muscle, but his
yeah,
was more like we'll call it a middle-aged spread male, that sort of like
yes,
me, like my six pack days, I moved into Kegville, we'll call it. But,
yeah, yeah. I would say yeah, barrel chested, where it would encompass everything, just the legs like tree trunks and the arms like tree trunks, just huge.
so was
Uh,
this creature walking in the same way you were supposed to be going?
no, he was going perpendicular.
Okay.
He was going across the trail, and I was going straight ahead. So
Much to
after I'm sorry.
much to your relief, I would imagine.
Yeah,
I
oh,
don't think.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It was, like I said, he did nothing threatening. He
Mhm.
didn't speak. All he did was stop and look at me. And then he just went on. And, I thought, okay, that was weird. And then I just continued on. But the thing is, it's stuck in my head, for all these years, until things clicked many decades later as to what he was. My dad had also mentioned the wild man to
Mhm.
me. We would talk about different paranormal things, and I had no idea if he had seen one. But I do recall him mentioning the wild man in a conversation at some point in time.
Well, I understand what you're talking about because, like I told you when we spoke briefly before, the thing that I saw swimming in Connecticut, I had just resigned myself to that fact that it was an incredibly large orangutan that somebody must have had as a
Yeah,
pet, and it was out swimming in the lake, or something like that,
yeah,
And orangutans, I don't think are very good in the water, and there's no orangutan that size. So I didn't
yeah,
realize until a few years back, what I had been watching that whole time.
right.
So did you tell your parents about like this creature?
Uh, I don't recall. It was such a inconsequential thing. I don't think I really mentioned. I may have offhandedly mentioned it to my dad, and maybe that's where the wild man conversation came about. I honestly don't recall.
Did that affect your habit of going on that trail after
No,
that?
no,
Oh,
not at
cool.
all.
Brave
No,
kid.
I we had horses, and I would ride out there also, but that day I was just walking.
Interesting. I mean, it's good that it wasn't aggressive, obviously. We might not be having
Yeah.
this conversation then. So
Yes.
would you say that is what inspired you to become a Sasquatch researcher and to start your own organization?
I think it was a small step.
Mhm.
There were many different things that kind of led up to this. But no, it wasn't the main thing that brought me into this. It was just, it was little step on that journey that brought me to this.
So I'm going to bring up, let's see. I mean, we've got a lot of different photos here. So I guess we'll see what incident links to which. Or should I introduce your handsome dog first? I'm assuming this is your crime and bodyguard. Can Dave, can we get number 7, please?
Oh yeah,
So who,
that's Sinead. She's my border collie. I She's sitting behind me now, right behind my chair, keeping my back warm.
that's awesome. Now, does she go with you when you go searching?
uh, Occasionally, she has had her own encounter that was very traumatic for her,
I was going to get to that.
and so whenever I do bring her, I make sure that we are in a very, very safe area for her.
Yeah,
I won't take her into a dangerous area anymore.
I've read that some dogs, when they sense the presence of a Sasquatch, they go
Mhm.
ape shit and get aggressive, and
Uh,
others cower in
yeah,
fear for their lives and shiver and want
yeah,
to hide under something.
yes,
So, so what happened with? Can you tell us about that incident?
certainly. This happened, oh, maybe 3 years ago. Um, Myself and another friend, we were camping out at Salt Fork State Park. This was late fall,
What
and
state is
there
that?
were
Is that in PA?
uh, no, that's in Ohio, Cambridge, Ohio. It's a pretty infamous uh, state park for Bigfoot.
Hmm.
There's a huge Bigfoot conference that goes on there in May, early May, and Bigfooters and Bigfoot fans come from all over to the conference. And I would never suggest going to camp to search for Bigfoot then, because there'd be all kinds of hoaxers and yahoos out there
And so much
banging on
noise
trees.
that, yeah, any creature in the
Yeah,
area would like leave town
yeah,
for a while.
exactly. It's useless. So we usually go on the off season.
Mhm.
Sometimes middle winter, we'll go out there and camp. But this time it was in late fall, and we were the only ones in the campground. It's a fairly large campground, and this area that we were camped at, the friend that I was camping with, she had seen something there the previous year. And so we figure, okay, we'll camp there this time and see what happens. And I had brought Sinead along with me.
Mhm.
And we were just sitting at the campfire that evening. Sinead was on about a 20-foot lead, and she had wandered over to the edge of camp to relieve herself. And the area that she was walking to, it was the top of a bluff. So she went over to the edge of the bluff and squatted down, and I saw her glance down the hill, and then all of a sudden, tail tucked, ears back, panic look in her eyes. She ran back to me and just straining as hard as she could get, because she was at the end of the lead.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I had it tied off at the top of that bluff. And so I unhooked her, comforted her, and I put her in the truck, where she'd be safe.
Is
Um,
that her right there?
that's her.
Poor baby.
Yeah. But
So she knew what she when she saw something it was dangerous.
oh yeah, yeah, she knew.
I've read
Yeah, she had.
accounts where dogs have been ripped apart by Sasquatch,
Oh
literally
yeah, yeah, they
dismembered.
will.
Mhm.
Yeah, the ones that bark and act aggressive, they're the ones that usually end up ripped apart. Um, the scared ones usually will survive on the most part. Um,
Note to self: when
Yeah.
attacked by Sasquatch or cornered by one, do not growl and attempt to bite.
Yes, exactly.
Just I don't see you. So
Yeah.
so let's see. I got a lot of stuff here. So let's move on to, I'm not sure which is which, but we've got the one. Let's do number 5, please, Dave. And then we're going to follow that up with number 6 a minute later, or when we're ready for it. So,
Okay.
what are we looking at here?
This photo was taken this past October in Hanobi, Oklahoma. They have a big Bigfoot conference there. I think early October is whenever they have their conference, but we were there like a couple weeks afterwards. And we had rented a cabin along with a friend who lives out there. And my friend was taking us around to active sites around there. And we had, let's see, we had arrived at the cabin. And then the following morning, I had gotten up fairly early and I was walking around the property just taking random photos with my camera. And afterwards, I sent all the photos to the group and, let them know where I was at. And one of the members said, "Hey, I think you got something there."
Can we get 6,
And
please?
and so I took that photo and I kept zooming in and I saw
This
two
is the part that was
possible
circled.
figures. And what was unusual was again, there's two. You can see two figures there.
Hmm.
Uh, the report was there was a female seen there by quite a few people, including our guide, and she had had twins a couple years previous. And I'm
So
thinking
you think it's,
possibly yeah, maybe the twins. I don't know.
well, I could
Um,
say this. I mean, despite the zoom, you can tell. Um, Dave, could we get that back for a second, please? I'm sorry. You could tell first off, even with the extreme zoom, they do appear to be a little on the shaggy side,
yes,
and to me, that looks like the type of massive traps, trapezius muscles, and stuff that you would get based on a lot of descriptions and stuff that I've read
agreed.
and stuff. So
Yeah, Chuck and I, the following morning after I zoomed in and saw that, I said, "Chuck, we got to walk over to there and just debunk it. We got to make sure there's no rocks there, there's no tree stump there. We got to check this out." So we walked over, I found exactly where they were, the figures were, and we walked over. It was at the very top of the bluff. There was a bluff behind the cabin, and we saw where there was nothing there, no stumps, no tree trunks, no rocks.
I mean, that's
Uh,
compelling right there when you put that together. And
yeah,
twins usually, stick together.
yeah,
So that would make a lot of sense. So obviously they were kind of interested in what you were doing there.
apparently so. They were very curious, but we did have activity for just about every night. One night, something walked up on the back porch and jiggled the doorknob, tried to come in. That had happened to my friend.
Uh,
Uh, it had happened to my friend a couple years ago where he woke up, the door was wide open, and he knew that it was closed and latched, just that he forgot to lock it. So, and they are known to come inside. They're curious enough. They know how to work a doorknob. They will come in.
I would imagine with that heightened sense of smell, they also try and make sure that there's no firearms, on the property. Like I'm a
Yeah.
firm believer that, like a lot of people that go into the woods armed, like gun
Mhm.
oil has a very distinctive smell.
Yeah,
You know,
Hobbs gun oil particularly has a pretty
yeah.
pungent smell to it, but yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
were
like,
all armed out there. Um,
yeah,
and
I would think like that scent alone could save your life if some of these creatures were
yeah.
aggressive, predatory, that type of stuff. Can you
Oh yeah,
imagine lying there in bed? I mean, that's like a scene from a Jurassic World movie. You wake up and like, like
uh,
unless you were like into like really big hairy creatures and then be like, "Oh, come here!" Right now, that just stuff. Most people
oh
would not.
God, no.
But so let's see now. Do any of the photos I have? I want to get to that story about you were talking about when this thing got under your truck and all that. But let me see if I can go through some of these first. Let's do. Dave, can we get number 3, please? I don't know any of Mary's stories, so I don't know what syncs to which. So what am I looking
Oh,
at here?
okay. This one would be. Let me think. Um, I think that's from my second sighting, where I lived in Beaver County, Pennsylvania. Right behind our house, there was a stone wall, and behind that stone wall, excuse me, is a golf course property. And this Bigfoot would come around to our house, bang on the walls. Um, I heard samurai chatter, at one point in time, and I've heard vocals there. He would come around and harass us like every two to
How
3 weeks.
how old were you then?
This was after I remarried and moved up to Beaver County in 2004. And that activity lasted from 2004 through 2016 until
Wow.
we moved out to our
Now,
new property here.
when you say banged on the house, I mean, how hard of a bang are we talking?
Oh, it was a pretty vigorous whack on the side of the house right behind my head.
Wow,
I'd be
really?
laying in bed, and
That's
I
messed
would
up.
go outside the following morning and check, man, that sounded like he would have broken the siding because it was wood siding. I think it was redwood siding on that house. Uh, must have been pretty hard, but there were no cracks or anything, which surprised me.
Mhm. We had an incident here like a year or two ago. Like my office, like the walls, were whatever, I don't know, 8 feet from where I'm sitting, and then there's backyard, maybe 50 feet of that, and then there's the woods.
Mm.
And so one night I was sitting here, and something crashed into the wall that shook the entire house. I mean,
Oh,
like it felt like a battering ram had hit it. Now, in reality, I am sure. I mean, we have bobcats here. I've had a mountain lion here one time. I'm figuring that it was just a deer and something made it grab at it and it jumped and it smashed into the house full force, like its whole body and stuff. But I
yeah.
mean, it was so thunderous. I jumped up. I ran into the great room, which is right next door, and then the right next to the great room is our deck, which is also out there. And I told my wife and daughter what had just happened, and I was looking out there, and then I said that line that you always want to say, but in a horror movie, it's always a bad thing. And I went, "There's something out there." Like that, right? And then I went outside with my gun and my flashlight and everything. And I posted about it. People were like, "You idiot! Why would you do that? You have to finish writing books for us. Don't do that stuff. What's the matter with you?" You know. But whatever it was, I'm like I said, I'm sure it was a deer, but it was quite shocking. So I can imagine it. You're lying in bed. I mean, it doesn't. Don't you find the timing a little suspect? Was it always when you were in bed?
Not always. Occasionally, he would bang on the wall. If I was in a different room, he would bang on that wall.
So
But
you were the
he would,
object of his affections, basically.
apparently so.
Mm,
And it was not reciprocated, not at all.
I'm sure.
Uh, at that time, I had another dog. Um,
Uh,
I may have a picture of her that I included. I'm not sure. But her,
I thought there was two. They looked like the same dog, though.
yeah, there's one with more black.
Oh,
Uh,
I'm sorry. I only sent him one because I thought it
oh,
was the same. I apologize.
that's okay. Um, yeah, there's a photo of my other dog. Her name was Zena. She was also a border collie mix, and she would always lay by the back door, looking out the back patio door, and that was her post. And whenever this Bigfoot would be around, her actions would warn me. You know, if he wasn't banging on the house, if he was just sneaking up, uh, she would all of a sudden she would give like a soft whine, mixture of a whine and a growl,
Mhm.
and then her ears would go back, tail tucked, her hackles raised, and she would crawl backwards underneath the dining room table, all the way across the floor, just staring intently out that door until she was huddled up against me, just shaking in
Was the door
terror.
open,
No,
or was there
no.
a screen door? I mean, was it partially
Uh,
open?
No,
No.
it was closed on the most part. Sometimes it'd be open for fresh air, but most of the time we kept it closed.
And you were married at the time,
Yes,
and was your husband there when this was happening?
sometimes, but he worked long hours in road construction. So whenever he would come home and eat, shower, he'd go to bed exhausted.
Mhm.
So,
Was
uh,
he ever awake when this thing was like rocking the house, or
yeah, he slept through all of it.
wow?
Everything that happened. Um, there was one night, well, I'm getting ahead of myself here.
Mhm.
Um, it- the way that he kept doing that, and I think that it was on purpose, that he was making my other dog Xena react that way. To me, it was him bullying her, trying to frighten me, which it did initially, and then, but it was just terrorizing her. And after a while, it just made me angry the
Mhm.
way that he was bullying her. And one night I got fed up. So, she came up against me just shaking in fear. So I jumped up, ran across, threw the door open, ran outside. I grabbed a golf club I had sitting there, chased out after him. He ran off out the hill. And I figured, well, bullies are cowards. And that was what I was counting on. And he was. He
Yeah,
was
I was a little concerned that there was an abrupt wedding in your future, like you guys were going to
no,
something like that. Wow,
no, he
I
just
would
ran
imagine this was younger male then, like adolescent kind of.
probably.
Yeah. Wow,
It's
that's
probably what
that.
it started out as, and he just
But you said this went on for
kept on
years,
for
like a
12
decade.
years. It
Wow.
was. Yeah,
That,
and that's every 2 to 3 weeks, that's what was going on.
did you ever
And
think to grab a 12 gauge and just or put a
no,
camera trap out or
no.
anything like
Well, people had suggested putting out a camera,
that? Hmm.
but I don't know. Instinctively, I think I knew it wouldn't work.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
I've
we
had
also had,
trap luck with the infrared myself.
yeah,
So,
we
but
also had security lights, motion sensor lights out there. And I would keep hollering at my husband. I say, "Why do you keep turning those lights? They're not triggering. I need them to trigger."
mhm,
And he said, "I'm not turning them. I haven't touched them for months." And I said, "Well, look, they're turned. They're
mhm,
turned back to the roof." And he said, "I haven't touched them." And we lived in a low ranch. So it was maybe 7 foot up to the light.
mhm.
So he was turning the security lights so they weren't triggering. He would sneak up, just hug the siding of the house,
Mhm.
and then turn that light so it wouldn't trigger, because it was right there by that back door.
And so it shows you're dealing with an intelligent animal, an intelligent
Oh yeah,
creature.
oh yeah. He was sneaky, sneaky sob.
But you broke his heart.
Yeah, I left.
His big hairy heart. Can you imagine? And then like somebody else moves in there, and he's like, "What the? Who are you?" You know? Gosh.
Yeah, I asked the new people who moved in if they experienced any wildlife, and that's how I worded it. And they said, no, we've seen deer and rabbits and groundhogs, and that's about it. So apparently they're unaware of, or, or unless he stopped coming around after they moved in.
Yeah, I would imagine. He was like his unrequited love interest or whatever had left him and all that. Imagine if he followed you, found out where you were, track you. Polar
Yeah,
bears can track a female
that
polar
was a
bear
fear.
like 90 miles.
Honest to God,
Then,
because they will follow you. I have been followed, and yeah, they'll follow you, I mean, for quite a while.
wow.
But no, we live maybe, I don't know, maybe 15 miles as the crow flies, but it's across a river, and but they will swim. Uh,
Oh, I know that.
yes, as you know.
Yes,
Um, but no, he's not around here. This is a different troop that lives here where I'm at now.
so now
Totally
you knew
different.
this was a Sasquatch at that point.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
Did you ever find any tracks around that, like the
Oh
house
yeah,
outside,
yeah,
or any of
and
those? I'm sorry. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Sent them to you.
Okay, so some of those photos would be related to this hornball,
Right,
the
right.
hornball
I
walk.
think it's in bare ground. There's
Let's see.
like a clay,
Okay, I'm going to
light
take a
colored
guess.
clay.
There's two that sort of, or three that match that.
Yeah, it
Dave, can
should be
we
two of
try
them.
12 first, please?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that is definitely a track. So, how big would you say that footprint was overall?
That footprint, yeah, at that time I didn't know to put my own foot next to it to compare. That one was maybe around 10 inches long, so that one wasn't a big one. It was probably just a
A child.
young teenager, teeny bopper, or a child.
So 10 inches, does that include like you're estimating like because part of it's missing. It looks like the heel is missing.
Yes, that would be including the heel, which is
Okay.
missing from that.
So this one was moving on tiptoe more or less than trying to be
Yeah,
quiet. It looks like.
probably
Okay.
running. Yeah,
Okay.
most likely running.
Um, let's get number 15, please.
Yeah, that's the other one. Yeah, that one I did have my foot up against it. It was maybe around 11 inches long,
Okay, so these are
and
small.
that's you see the shape of it, how it's curved.
Mhm.
That would be a female.
So females have different shaped feet than the males.
Yes, yes.
Let's
I've
see.
learned that from some very, very experienced uh, researchers.
Squatchers. Okay.
Yes.
Let's see what there's one. So we've got some tree breaks here. Let's look at those. Can we get number 10, please?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one was in Edinburgh, Lawrence County, Pennsylvania.
Hmm.
It was an active area, had an ongoing research area. The property owner was doing things, though, to kind of draw them in, and I kept warning him. Uh, One thing in particular that he was doing, I said, you better stop that, take it down, because you're asking for trouble.
What was he doing?
And not, he had a, he had pulled a tree up and shoved it upside down into the ground, maybe 10 feet away from this tree.
How big is this tree he did that to, and how did he do that? You have a
This
machine to do
tree
it?
here, this one was this broken tree right here of the picture. It is Trying to think, maybe 8 to 10 inches in circumference.
Circumference or diameter?
Oh, diameter. I'm sorry.
So
Across.
that's pretty sizable, and
Yeah.
snapped clean like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. There was no wind, no storms, nothing. The property owner was up there the day before,
Mhm.
and the tree was fine. And he went up back up on the property the following day and found this 10 feet from the tree that he had shoved in the ground upside down.
So wait, so he took a tree
The
himself.
homeowner, yeah,
Okay.
property
And
owner.
did he cut it? Did it have the roots attached?
Yeah, yeah, the roots were attached, and with a machine, he lifted it and shoved it into the ground, or dug a hole and stuck it into the ground, because he had seen pictures
Mhm.
of upside down trees in other parts of the country being related to Bigfoot activity.
Right, marking one's
And
territory and a threatening message, basically, is
right,
my impression.
right. So he was doing stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I told him, I said, you've got to stop this, because you're going to bring trouble on yourself. And he saw that broken tree, and he called me right away, and he said, you got to get up here and tell me what's going on here. And as soon as I saw that, I said, I warned you.
So that his tree, he put his up first, and this
Yes,
tree snap was a response, basically.
exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
There was a huge X structure also, maybe 50 yards from there, and a tree
Is that one of
below.
the photos I have?
Possibly. I can't remember if
I
I
see
sent it
one
to you.
X. Dave, can we get 14, please?
Okay, no.
That's not
Yeah,
it.
yeah, no, that's not it.
So before
This,
we talk about this, wait. So
yeah,
did anything bad happen to this guy after that? Because I gotta know.
no, no. He pulled the upside down tree out,
Hmm.
and I made him take down a few other things that he had done.
Hmm.
And there was
Yeah,
still activity up there, but nothing else threatening happened.
yeah. You don't go into somebody's house and start like posting, warning signs
No,
or threats and stuff like that.
no, you don't. No,
Yeah, I mean,
that's
it's
why,
their house.
yeah, my organization motto, the first word is respect,
Mhm.
and that's why I try to stress to people, you have to respect the Bigfoot, respect them, respect their territory, respect their lives, respect the witnesses to them also, because a lot of them are traumatized by what
Sure.
they see.
Carol Garcia has a question. She wants to know: aren't they protective of trees being taken out, down?
If you deforest their area, like lumbering and so on, that kind of destroys their home.
Hmm.
But if you or the sound of a chainsaw while their babies are sleeping, or mowing a lawn while their babies are sleeping, with a big noisy tractor or something, uh, they'll cause a little trouble at something like that, because hey, again, respect.
Right.
uh,
Yeah, definitely. Um, no worries, Carol. You should see my typing. The editor gets to you. All right, let's see what's next on the agenda here because we got a few more that we can look at. Let's do number 13, please.
oh, okay, yeah, that's a structure near here, my new property. We moved in here, like I said, it's about 10-15 miles as the crow flies from where I used to live.
Mhm.
And this was, I think, the first structure that I found in the area, that I figured possibly, was Bigfoot made. And I'd found a couple other ones. The one that you had up before this was another one that I found in this area.
That'd be Can we get 14 back, please, Dave?
Yeah, that one. That's
So
the tip of a tree bow where the top is held down. It's pinned down by the other branch. And that's typically how they'll do it. They'll pin the top down in some form.
I mean, that has to be
Yeah.
purposeful. That can't just happen from wind, it looks like.
Right, right. If it's and it didn't pin itself by wind or anything else, it was purposely pinned down.
Let's get number 11, please.
Okay, yeah, that's a footprint that I found. Trying to think. Oh, that I can't remember where that was. That possibly was um, from a camping trip that I was on, and oh, that's right, because the night before, someone told me they had seen a cougar in the area. This was also in Ohio, and so I said, okay, I don't want to sleep in a tent, with a cougar in the area.
Hmm.
And so I figure I'm going to take my tent down and I'll just sleep in my truck. And I walked around my tent to start taking it down, and I found a trackway
Hmm.
directly behind my tent. There was
It was your
something.
ex-boyfriend. They tracked you down at last.
Yeah.
So Deanna wants to know about the trees in that position. My understanding is it's Bigfoot marking their territory for other Bigfoot.
Yeah,
Typically.
it's a marker of some kind. We honestly don't know exactly the purpose. It could be territorial. It could be pointing at a feature. Could be pointing at water. Could be pointing at where they've stored or hidden food, or could be pointing toward a game trail. We don't know. Don't know. They won't talk to us. They won't tell us.
Let's see where we're at here.
Yeah, all we can do is put clues together uh, and try to figure out by different things, using primatology, the habits of other primates and this and that, and bring things together and make a totally wrong.
Let's get 4A up, please, Dave.
Oh, okay. That's the side of my truck door. I had a Chevy Colorado at that time, and we were camping in a different area in Ohio. Let me think. Yeah, this night I hadn't put up a tent. I was just sleeping in the cab in my truck,
Hmm.
and I woke up in the middle of the night to something shaking my truck, and I was just so tired. I said, "Heck with it," and I just pulled my blanket up over my head and fell back asleep. I figured if I don't react, he'll wander off and bug someone else. And but the
So those
next
are
morning,
those, I'm
there's
sorry,
handprints. Yeah, that's
Dave.
handprints there.
Dave? Can we get 4 on there? Because I tried to zoom in and I tried to enhance it. And if you
Yeah,
look in the very center, you could see like a series of swirls that to me look like finger marks on there, or even
yeah,
like knuckles and finger marks. It's kind of hard to tell.
yeah.
Obviously,
It really was. It was hard to make out, and I had to, in order to take the photo and catch any of it, it was it was hard to get.
we got a question from Carol Garcia. Was asking if you found water near those trees with the X markings,
The broken off tree.
the ones where they're like an X.
Oh, okay. There is water at the bottom of the hill. Um, from there, yeah.
Because I listened to that gentleman you mentioned about the dogman sighting and all, the NASA guy, and he was
Yes.
saying that his position was that a lot of um, these tree structures or whatever, these X's and stuff like that, were like marking the borders of the territory for other Sasquatch troops, etc. So they
Yeah.
know that that was claimed, occupied, etc. But the exception of the ones where you find like breaks or especially an upside down tree with the roots sticking up, which is
Yeah.
like more like a warning, a threat, like you come through here,
Yeah.
you regret it, that type of stuff.
I,
But
I think so.
I remember I saw a documentary where they went to that, remember in Alaska where all those people
Yes.
were really killed and that cannery had to shut down because people were being ripped apart and their
Hmm.
limbs were drifting downstream and stuff like that. People were finding them and all that stuff. And, they went there and there was a whole like palisade of those upside down trees
Yeah.
rammed into the ground. And the weight of one of these trees I mean, this is way up a hill. You're not getting, a backhoe up there or anything like that. I
No.
mean, the strength to move is thousands of pounds of wood, and
Yeah.
let alone to ram it into the ground is astonishing. I mean, astonishing.
Yeah.
But
They are incredibly strong. Incredibly. You think of chimpanzees, and you see how strong they are for their size. And mm,
I can tell you from personal experience, when I was like 24, when I was in my heyday, concentration curls with 80-pound dumbbells and all this stuff like that. I thought who I, what's it? I thought who I was, as they would say back in Brooklyn and stuff like that. And I went to Queens, and there was this very exotic pet store there. I mean, these guys had albino cobras in the basement, they said, and stuff like that. And they had a
yeah.
mascot, which is a large monkey or an ape of some kind. It was like one of these ones with they're part black and part white. I don't know the species. It was a long time ago. I would say this monkey probably weighed about, let me compare it to, I'd say maybe 40 pounds, something like that. Okay. It
Okay.
was in this big gilded cage there,
Mm,
which I pray was not his only habitat and that it was just during business hours or whatever. But anyway,
yeah.
and he was sitting there looking all annoyed. And unbeknownst to us people, us shoppers, his arms could fit between the bars. And why they don't have a sign up that said that back then is a long time ago, right? And everything. So I'm walking by and it's summertime and I've got my tank top on and I've got, all these muscles and all this stuff like that. But I was all, and I'm walking by and he shoots out an arm and he grabs my bicep on the left side with this grip. It was like a vice. I mean, it was hurting me. Okay. And I was 5 times his weight. And I went like this to shrug him off, like, oof, like that. Nothing happened. It was like
Yeah.
I hit a wall. And then I turned and looked at him and he looked right at me. Our eyes met and he had this look like, yeah, that's right. Like that. And then I got furious and I threw all my weight into it. I managed to rip my hands free. But I had welts from his fingers the next
Oh,
day.
wow.
I mean, so
Wow.
if you picture an anthropoid that weighs 800, 1,000 pounds scaled up, I mean, you do not want a piece of that action,
No,
honestly,
you don't.
unless you're an Alaskan brown bear or something like that. And even
Yeah.
then, you never know. But anyway,
Oh,
so tell us before we're going to run out of time about this incident with the pickup or something you said where the thing was under your truck, because I'm really curious about that.
oh, okay.
I,
That was in a research area in McCain County, near
which is what
Bradford,
state?
Pennsylvania, about north central, right
Okay.
along the state line. And we were researching. There were, let me think, about 10 of us, a mixture of both men and women. There was everyone else went hiking off, and myself and another lady stayed at base camp. The other lady was very disabled, and she could barely walk. So she just stayed in her vehicle, and I stayed with her.
Mhm.
And so I was walking around my truck and her vehicle, because I knew from experience what they'll do is they'll circle up around you and sneak up and crawl up underneath your vehicle. And
That's nice.
yeah, it really is. And what was
Oh,
happening, yeah, really fun. What was happening, I could hear all kinds of activity, movement, and something very, very agitated in the brush around across from me, around 30 feet away from me. It was on an upslope, and there was something that in that brush just moving across the hillside, very agitated, just moving back and forth, back and forth. And I called on the walkie-talkie for one of the guys to come in if something was going on. So one of the guys came in, and the activity stopped. It completely stopped. It was quiet.
Mhm.
And another lady came in, and she stayed, and the guy left. As soon as the guy left, the activity started up again. It started moving around, making all kinds of noise. And I'm thinking, he's trying to distract us. That SOB, he's distracting us. So, I told the other lady, I said, please keep an eye up here. I'm going to circle around. I want to make sure that he's not coming up on us from behind.
Mhm.
And, but apparently he managed to come up before I caught it. And I could smell him up from underneath my truck.
What does it smell like?
Well, it was a sickening, sweet, flowery smell, which my friend who is retired from NASA said, he told me that's their breath. If you can smell their breath, they're really close. And I knew that. So I stepped up so the tire of my truck was in between me and him because I didn't want him grabbing at my ankle
Mhm.
and making
This wasn't the
trouble.
same one from years earlier, right? We're hoping.
No, this
Okay.
was over 100 miles away.
Well, you never know. I mean, guys will travel a long distance for love. But I assume you stopped wearing the same perfume you used to wear back at the other house and stuff. Okay.
Yes.
Find out what that perfume is. You could market it. So you
Yeah,
want to see a
that one.
swatch? Wear this.
Yeah, that one. I did manage to see that one from my Beaver County home one day. Um, that
You saw
first
it.
picture. Yeah, I saw him one day. I had gone outside one afternoon after washing my hair, and I was just outside drying it, and I saw movement over top of the stone wall behind her house,
Mhm.
and saw him popping up his head and just watching me. And I looked at him and I said, I see you, USOB.
My God.
And
How
he
big was this thing?
his head, all I could see was just his head. Um,
But he was
because he
behind the
was just
wall.
looking. Yeah, the rest of his body was behind the wall. He was laying down and
It was a low wall.
looking up over. It was at that part, it was low,
Mhm. So he was like
where
kind
he
of
was
crouched
laying.
down, or like you said, creeping
Yeah,
along. Wow, he's like a peeping tom type thing.
he was.
But you see, have the same thing though at this other one where you were saying with the disturbance in the brush and all that.
Yeah,
I mean, when there's a man there, nothing. I think it's
right.
not just. I think it's like showing off or trying to impress a female. I
Yeah,
mean, these guys seem to have like. I mean, you've seen the Patterson Gimlin film. I mean, the females aren't that attractive. I could see how a Homo sapien female might seem a little bit of a step up. You know. I mean,
yeah.
what do I know though? But did he you said he shook the truck at one point, or
The let me see. No, that one was whenever I was camping. He rocked the truck. That's where the handprints were. The
oh,
one that
so he was
crawled up
shaking it like
underneath.
this?
Yeah, The one that crawled up underneath my truck, no, he didn't shake it. But I could tell that's where he was because that's where the smell was coming from.
So, do you think he might have been thinking about trying to kidnap you?
I don't think so. They're more of a if you've heard of the term counting coup from way back in the early American days, where the Indians would run up and just touch you and then run off.
So it's like a
And
game.
that's called counting coup. It's a yeah, it's a okay, all right. I got nice and close. I touched them, and they show how
Ah,
big and brave they are.
but
That's the way the
they don't do
Native
that with men.
Americans were.
They don't do
Oh
that with
yeah,
men.
they'll do it with men also. Yeah, yeah, they'll walk right up behind you. There's many reports of two friends of mine that this has happened to, where they walked right up behind them, and the guys could feel the breath on the
Mhm.
back of their neck and turn around. And
That's
my friend
nice.
from NASA,
Uh-huh.
he whenever he turned, he bumped it with his arm, and the Bigfoot was right there, and they both,
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
He
You
said
know,
that they went into a do-si-do, and the Bigfoot went that way, and I went that way, and
that's
but
hilarious.
thank
And,
God that didn't happen to me. No thanks.
yeah, really. Got to get drawing done. Rex and I have Tina show to go to. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have to close out shop here, unfortunately. So let's find out who our winner is at random, obviously.
Ooh.
Anybody who did a comment or anything else like that is in the entry. The winner is Cold Case True Crime. I don't know what that means, but okay, is that like a? Oh, okay, that's the winner. Yeah. So the winner of the drawing um, needs to send Dave their email address. Oh, I'm sorry, Shaman Sundays. Um,
I'm trying to get it because I put a comment in there and it went across all of our platforms. So it's not going to be one of Sky Doors' shows.
is that one of Sky Doors right there?
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't want that, obviously. I'm waiting with bated breath.
Jeez. Maybe we'll get there today.
My pleasure, Carol Garcia. I say Carol wins.
Okay, there we go. Good for me.
All right. Carol Garcia, congratulations. You are the winner of this week's show. Shoot your email over to the guys, and I will get your Kindle copy of Monsters and Marine Mysteries on its way. And thank you, everybody. Great talking to you all, and looking forward to seeing you guys next week.